So as most of you guys may or may not know is that we are obviously going through very, very deep, dark, difficult times right now. You might even have particular stories to share, so feel free to comment them down below. But the big idea is that there are also a lot of huge major CEOs that have now officially come out to speak about their own predictions and their own views and giving a lot of warning signs as well for where they see this current recession, inflation, interest rate hikes, and everything that's been going on in our world is going to be headed towards in the near coming future, or even over the next couple of years, because each of these CEOs have a very particular different prediction for where we're headed, and also a very, very different time frame for where they see these events possibly going. So in today's update, what I really just want to talk about is what our major CEOs have been saying. This is really particularly important, certainly if you are someone that's invested in any of the kinds of markets, so whether this is the stock market, the housing market, everything in that world. And it's also pretty important even just for our own livelihoods, because you might have already shopped in grocery stores and seen about how expensive bills, prices, everything, groceries have been getting, gas and all that stuff. So that's why this is probably particularly important to know about just figuring out how this is going to impact our lifestyle. So we are going to get started, but exactly the same exact rule most of you guys already know by now. If you guys are new here, remember to smash the like button, consider subscribing, hitting the bell. Feel free to comment any questions, thoughts, stories about anything, or you can watch to the end to decide. Feel free to leave a suggestion, if anything, for something you'd like to see, because we're always learning. And as with that being said, let's get this video started. So the first major figure that we're really going to be talking about is going to be none other than our legendary CEO of Tesla, Elon Musk. And the big idea really about Elon Musk is that what he currently speaks about is how he believes that we are going to be in a global recession right now as we're speaking. So we're already in the recession, and that this recession is going to continue on all the way until spring of 2024. So in other words, we have about another 1.5 years of darkness left. In other words, just very dark, difficult times coming up soon. And one of the most interesting things is that he is actually very, very active on Twitter. So if you're interested in following a lot of his views, his Twitter page is going to be where he's going to post about a lot of the how he views the current situation from here and going forward throughout the next just X period of time, because we don't know how long this recession is going to last. But as long as it does, he's going to be pretty much sharing his particular thoughts on it. Now, the next person that we're really going to be talking about is going to be Mark Zandi, who is the chief economist at Moody Analytics. So originally it was believed that the definition of a recession is having 2 quarters of negative GDP, as most of you guys may or now know. But he wants to try to redefine the definition, believing that there should be a different definition to try to qualify for what it means to be in a true recession. He currently believes that this recession is probably going to go on for about another 1 year, essentially taking us to the second half of 2023. So in other words, we are in the second half of 2022. He believes that this recession is going to go on until the second half of 2023. So he's a little bit... there's nothing really optimistic about this, but really what it is that he's just a little bit less pessimistic than Elon Musk. Elon Musk thinks there's going to be another 1.5 years. Mark Zandi thinks there's going to be 1 more here. Who's going to be right? All of this stuff, we just have to kind of just stay tuned for maybe another future episode on the news. But the rest of the CEOs that we're really going to be talking about next is going to be about Jeff Bezos, who is the former CEO, obviously. So he's not the current, but he's the former CEO. But the current CEOs are also going to be David Solomon, who is the CEO of Goldman Sachs, and Jamie Dimon, who is the CEO of JP Morgan and Chase. And the big idea is that they also believe that the recession is all going to be continuing for quite a while now. But the big idea is that they've also come out to speak a lot about how they hope to prepare for all of this stuff that's happening. So not only are they making predictions for how long it's going to last, but they have also offered a little bit of word of advice for what they hope to do to combat all of this stuff. And the biggest advice that they've really given is about how important it is during these times in order to be very, very defensive about everything you do. So whether this has to do with your investment, if you happen to be a business owner, your business decisions, it is really really, really important right now to play defense than it is to play offense, because during these times, there's going to be a very massive struggle for a lot of people to survive. And that's going to be very, very particularly difficult. The big idea is that if you are someone that's invested in stocks, a lot of our leaders have talked about how in order to become defensive, it might be time to try to transfer or to change and take the money out of your very, very risky investments and try to put it into much safer investments. So for example, in the world of stocks, this is going to be like your typical mutual funds, maybe to take out money from your high-risk growth stocks and now transfer them to other kinds of much safer stocks or mutual funds such as like SPY, QQQ, even QQQ. It's the name of a large mega cap tech fund, mutual fund. But the big idea is that you just want to play very, very defensive and be very, very careful. This is probably not going to be the time to try to take extravagant risks unless, and the key word is unless, you have a lot of money to potentially risk. Because there is a lot of say that while the markets are down, this is relatively a great time to consider buying into stocks. But at the same time, there's obviously a lot of different opinions about that. And while it is true that it is a reasonable time, certainly better than 1 year ago, to try to start buying into stocks, it's also just as important to be very, very protective and very, very careful and cautious about where you put your particular money. There are a lot of safer ways that you can spend this. You can put this in savings account, you can put this in mutual funds as just mentioned, as opposed to individual stocks. But the big idea is just to make sure you're protecting yourself from anything that can potentially come from this particular recession right now at this time. This is also very, very particularly important even with business decisions, because if you happen to be a business owner, for example, by chance, or if you don't happen to be a business owner, if you happen to be a business owner, it might be time to make sure you're very, very protective as well about a lot of your business decisions. This is particularly true because there are a lot of companies, and we're talking about even bigger companies, that are now really trying to experiment with other things. Facebook, obviously, with the metaverse. Amazon has their own projects. There are other companies with things such as about software, cloud, cybersecurity. But whatever it is, it's just important to be very, very defensive about it and be very, very careful with how you risk your money. There's obviously a lot of stocks that have crashed, and one of the reasons why many stocks have crashed is because of how the market perceives the CEOs or the business leaders within a company are currently spending their money. Many of them feel that they're not allocating their money in the proper way. And this is one of the things that's also tanking the market as well. But it's not just the market, but it's everything related to their financials, money, balance sheets, income, revenue, gross profit, everything in that particular world is what's going to be impacted. Now, last week, the inflation report did recently come out, and as most of you guys probably know by now, or will know from this, is that the inflation rate the interest rate did increase by 0.75%. So obviously, this is one of another new record for the last time they increased it by this amount. And the goal right now is that they're going to be continuously increasing the interest rate all the way until they're able to bring it back down to about 2%, bringing back the inflation rate down to about 2%. We are very far from reaching that goal right now at this time, which is why one of the biggest things is that many of us predict that there is sadly going to be even more pain to come. We don't know the future, obviously. Maybe consider subscribing if you guys haven't done so we can maybe update it as we know more information. But that's really the foresight at this current time, is that they believe that we not only have to be more careful, but we have to prepare for even more potential, because we don't know what it is, but potential difficulties to come now, whether this has to do with things again, just such as like business, investment, markets, everything in that world. Now, if you do happen to be someone that maybe is employed and is not a business owner, this is still actually particularly important because it is expected right now that a lot of companies might also start to announce layoffs very, very much soon. So this is going to impact the unemployment in the job market as well. So if this happens to apply to you, it's going to be very, very particularly important also to be defensive so that you can protect your job. And I think that's one of the most difficult things and the most important thing to really get out of everything mentioned here today. Well, one of the things, at least, of many things. But a lot of this stuff is going to be a lot of signs about what's to potentially come soon, but I figured it's at least important to know what a lot of our leaders who have a lot of experience currently views the situation. But of course, what they end up saying from here, whether they change their opinions, continue on, or what it is, because again, a lot of our leaders are known to change their opinions after all. We just have to see in one of the future episodes of The Kevin Show. So beyond that that's pretty much what I really just wanted to cover in today's update. So if you guys made it to the end, huge thanks. Feel free to leave a comment. Remember to like this video if you guys hopefully enjoyed this, or leave a suggestion or comment, if there's any room for improvements. And with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. As always, stay safe, stay well, stay strong, stay defensive, and hope to see you guys next time. Thank you guys so much again.